And tonight, we can't take this anymore. The cry of citizens as the depreciation of the Ghana cedi worsens. Forex is now trading one United States dollar for an average of 14 Ghana cedis, a situation many are describing as unbearable in the face of rising cost of food and transport services.
It is becoming unbearable under this leadership, and I think the earlier something is done about it, the better for us.
Even sanitary towels. I used to buy sanitary towels for like 5 cedis and a few pesos. The last time I bought one this month was 15 cedis, and I'm sure before next month it will go to 20 cedis.
Well, there's more unfolding tonight as the economy tightens and the rising inflation and depreciation of the cedi. World Bank is lashing out at government's decision for not signing up the debt suspension initiative to freeze its debt service obligations.
A situation where the common framework caused or allowed the country to have a standstill on their debt that would help the countries choose their path forward on debt restructuring. That would mean they would get a break on debt payments while they're working out a restructuring agreement with the.
Well, the opposition National Democratic Congress is wading in tonight, blaming the economic meltdown on President Akufo-Addo and describing his tenure as full of misrule and bad policies.
It is also an indication that President Akufo-Addo's continuous misrule and mishandling of the affairs of Ghana have occasioned a great suffering for all of us, of which the Ashanti region is no exception.
My name is Blessed Soga, and Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Vodafone. Further together. And tonight, Ghanaians are fuming over what they describe as the galloping rise in the cost of goods and services across the country. The situation is being attributed to the poor performance of the Ghana cedi against major trading currencies around the world. At the Forex market, one United States dollars is now trading at 13 Ghana cedis, 75 pesos, making the country's legal tender the worst currency in the world after losing over 100% of its own value. So let's break the figures down for you. Joining me now is Isaac Kofi, data analyst with the Joy Research Desk. Joins us with detail as to what exactly it is that is happening to the Ghana cedi. Kofi, let's start off with the exact depreciation rate as we speak right now.
So, blended per checks from some leading forex bureaus, the cedi in nominal terms has now lost almost 130% of its value to the dollar since the beginning of the year. Now let's look at this hypothetical situation, holding other things constant. So assuming you're a student and then you're supposed to pay a tuition fee about $20,000, beginning of the year you would have paid 120,000 Ghana cedis. Now because of the exchange rate situation, you will be paying 280,000 Ghana cedis. The difference between what you would have paid at the beginning of the year and what you're paying now is 160,000 Ghana cedis. So if you wanted to buy a house worth $35,000 at the beginning of the year, you would have paid 210,000 Ghana cedis at the beginning of the year,
which means technically that it shot up astronomically.
Exactly. So beginning of the year, you would have paid 210,000 Ghana cedis. Now, because of the exchange rate, you'll be paying 490,000 Ghana cedis. The difference, just because of exchange rates, is 280,000 Ghana cedis. And this is even more than the price you'd have paid at the beginning of the year, Blessed.
And as we speak, I'm correct to say that the currency is the world's
worst performing
currency as we speak, because we've lost over 100% in terms of value. What's the 130% in terms of its value? Terms. Do we have the official position, for instance, of what the central bank is saying as to why we're seeing this continuous slump in the value of the Ghana cedi?
Right, so Blessed, according to data contained in Bank of Ghana's summary sheet on Ghana's economy, our international reserves have now dropped from $9.9 billion to 6.6 billion cedis in just 6 months. and this can only afford us 2 months and some few days of import. So it means that there are now less for foreign liquidity to import crude oil, pharmaceuticals, electrical gadgets, frozen food, fertilizer for farmers, and then also even payment of interest on our external debt.
Isaac, I also want to bring in the corresponding impact on inflation because right now, as we speak, and you will just be hearing from some Ghanaians tonight on how they're feeling the pinch in the economy. What correspondence can we bring to this in terms of how the CD is faring and what the impact has been on the average Ghanaian in terms of how the purchasing power is being affected on the market?
Right, so data from the Ghana Statistical Service monthly CPI bulletins indicates that for the past 6 months, inflation from imported items outstripped those produced locally, and which started in April when the CD broke the 8 CD mark. And so, blessed, that is it. So we've seen that from April this year, we've seen foreign inflation outstripping that of domestic one.
And very finally, government had indicated to us at the start of the year that they were expecting some inflow of foreign exchange in terms of the US dollar from 5 different sources. I recall the AfriExim and some others. Tell us about that. And I understand that we have 3 inflows so far, correct?
So you're right. AfriExim, bank, 750 million. We have that.
Right.
Joint mandated land arrangers and book runners, the M Labs, we do not have the 250 million because the minority have blocked this loan. We have the Cocoa syndicated loan, which is 1.13 billion Ghana cedis. According to statement from the Bank of Ghana, we are making plans to have this 1.13 billion cedis. We are also expecting 3 billion cedis from IMF. We do not have it. We've also purchased or repatriated forex from gold and oil companies, which is around $83.9 million. We have, but blessed, I want us to look at this. So, but despite all of this forex support, the CD has crossed 7 discrete points in less than 9 months. So we saw the CD breaking the 7 CD mark on February 18th. It went ahead to break the 8 in March 22nd. Then on August 9, the CD broke the 9. Then the same month, 10 days later, the CD moved from 9 CDs to 10 CDs in the same month of August. Then, the CD broke the 11 CD mark on October 8, 2022. Then went further to break the 12 that same month from 8 to 14. It broke the 12 CD mark. Then, the CD broke 13 CDs just yesterday, and now we are hearing that some forex bureaus are now selling at an average of 14 CDs.
And so that's Isaac Kofi with the Joy Research Desk. Well, tonight on Top Story, Ghanaians are lamenting the situation is becoming unbearable. I just want you to take a listen to some of them.
You go out to buy goods and prices are skyrocketing on a daily basis. You buy something today, in the next 2 hours, you go out to buy the same thing and they tell you that the price has changed. It is becoming unbearable under this leadership, and I think the earlier something is done about it, the better for us. Look, we can pretend to play the propaganda and try to downplay the impact of how we are feeling, but I can tell you that if you step out on the streets, you will get to know that people are really feeling the heat under this regime, and our leaders are just being insensitive. Transport fares, fuel prices. I mean, I can't even use my motorbike again. My own motorbike, I can't use it again. The amount of fuel it will take me to commute from one place to another has gone up to the extent that I have to abandon it.
No matter how many times we try to convince ourselves that things will get better, things just never get better. I don't know. Even sanitary towels. I used to buy sanitary towels for like 5 cedis and a few pesos. The last time I bought one this month was 15 cedis, and I'm sure before next month it will go to 20 cedis. What is happening? What is happening? And our politicians aren't living their lives anyway to tell us that, okay, things are really hard for the people of Ghana to appreciate it. You can't be living your life like things are fine and the people at the grassroots are suffering, and then you expect us to keep quiet. Look at the number of strikes. When is the economy ever going to take shape? Honestly, it's disappointing. To be honest, it's so disappointing. And as a young Ghanaian, I don't know what to say.
Electricity that we used to pay, the same amount that we pay for prepaid, and it lasts us for a month. Now you pay that same amount and it lasts for only 9 days. And you know the interesting thing about this? They don't tell us that there's any change. If you look on the receipts, there are no changes. They tell us there's no energy crisis or whatever, but we are paying more now, for the same services than we used to do, more than times two. And you are not telling us there's any increase. That's what they are doing. And to go to work now, when you calculate your transportation, they want to increase it again by 40%. When you calculate your transportation and you tally it with the amount you get at the end of the month, you feel like you don't need to go to work anymore, because how much are you getting? That is what we are dealing with in Ghana. And you know the interesting thing too, those who want to
And I want to bring in Professor Godfred Bokpin, who is with the University of Ghana Business School, joining us in this conversation. There's more also unfolding, because you do know that the shops, as we speak, have been shut down by GUTA members. We'll give you an update on that. But I want to bring in Prof. First of all. And Prof, you have heard the concerns of some Ghanaians. How worse can this get?
Well, it's quite a difficult and challenging situation. You look at the fiscal space, you don't see any action or steps from government. So it's like everybody has been left to their own fate. If you survive, fine. Otherwise, that is it. And I think that's a bit worrying. And you see why people, even rational economic agents, are taking steps in certain ways that really is a bit troubling. We will say that the worst moment is yet to happen, and if we say so, it's not because we don't like the country. You are looking at the rate at which the cedi is depreciating and the pass-through to inflation. You are looking at the fact that perhaps, of course, some progress has been made in terms of the IMF negotiation and all of that. But perhaps it doesn't look like a program will be in place before the budget will be presented. Even if we decide to say that we can have a program in place by the end of the year, the next important thing is merely having a program is not a guarantee that the problems will just disappear. Inbuilt in that program is work. Inbuilt in that program will be a painful fiscal adjustment that we have to go through in the next 2 to 3 years.
But then, in terms of immediate solutions, what can we explore as a country?
I think that there's a limit to how far we can look to Bank of Ghana in terms of monetary side. But there's a lot that could come from the fiscal side. And unfortunately, the fiscal side hasn't responded. And that is where the problem is. And I think that there is no signal from government that the reality, or we are all on the same level when it comes to what is going on right now. To the extent that we are not seeing anything, even makes it a bit concerning. I hope that the president will be able to take the bold decision and start from his finance minister and communicate a certain hope that says that, you know what, I'm willing to take these steps, I recognize where we find ourselves.
And speaking about that, the president has taken responsibility over what's happening to the economy over the weekend. Just this week, I should say, the president was in the Ashanti region taking responsibility for a decision to roll the austerity plan with the IMF, and then he jumps to the defense of the finance minister. He's called him an outstanding minister. That's the perception of the president on this.
And that is unfortunate. Merely admitting doesn't solve the problem. If we are touched, the next step is what steps are you taking? I think that is what we need now. That admission should come with certain bold steps where the government itself internalizes the austerity that is coming. And on the basis of that, ask everybody to come on board.
And I'm
we
grateful
need to do that.
Indeed, we'll see what the president will do about that. That's Professor Godfred Bokun with the University of Ghana Business Schools joining us. Meanwhile, there's a lot unfolding on the economy tonight. The Ghana Union of Traders Association says its decision to close down shops in major parts of the country over the depreciation of the Ghana cedi remains in force. There were high hopes today that the directives of GUTA were going to be reversed when the Garmancha himself, Taki Tekochu II, met with leadership of the union over their recent agitations. However, it appears that shops will remain closed in spite of that meeting with the Garmancha. Joseph Padi speaks for the Ghana Union of Traders Association.
Yes, we had a call from the Garmancha, the overlord of the land, the capital. So we quickly responded to his call. We were called this afternoon around 2:30. So we went to the Garmancha. And the reason for calling us was that he heard there's some agitation in the business community. And therefore, he wanted to find out what is the problem. As a senior of the land, he can't sit down and see things go wrong. So we presented our grievances and our challenges to him. And he shared in our plight, he shared in our concerns. So he said he has heard us, but at a matter of urgency, he will see people in authority and see how best they can bring a solution to our grievances and challenges. So that was the cause of our meeting today. And we appreciated his call that as a responsible father of the land, he's also intervened our issue. So we pray that whatever proposal he put before authority will be positive, and then it will bring an end to our challenges. Per our meeting with the Garmancha, nothing has changed so far. So we still hold on to our closure of shop until otherwise something else happens. All that we're looking for is result. So if even result comes in the next 10 to 3 or 4 or even 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 1 hour, if we're able to achieve some results, where we are hearing there's been some intervention by government, but officially it has not really come out. We heard that they're going to peg the dollar at the port in terms of clearing of goods. There's a speculation, but it has not been made official yet. So if some of the the low-hanging fruit, we'll be able to achieve those ones, because we said that we categorize the issues into 3, the short term, the medium, and the long term. So if the short term one, we're able to achieve them, why not? It brings some relief to the business community, and we believe the trading community and the consuming public too will be comfortable and satisfied. As a result of what is happening now, you see that there's too much agitation in the market area. Someone will come for an invoice today, tomorrow he comes, and the invoice face value changes because the businessman also went to the port, and the cost of duty at the port has also changed. And so as a result of that, there's been agitation between the trading community and even the consuming public. So we hope that all this intervention will be fruitful and to yield result. All that we're looking for is result. We did this to put pressure on government to, as a matter of urgency, see to the plight of the trading community.
So that's a summary of what transpired today when leadership of Guta engaged the Ga Mancha, Ni Takiteko Churu II, over the concerns of the business community. Let me bring in now spokesperson of the Ganstool, Ni Ojay, joining us via telephone. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for your time. What's necessitating the decision of the traditional overlord to summon leadership of Guta to his palace today?
Good evening to you, and a good evening to all your listeners and good gentlemen in the studio. Actually, we all know he's the father of the land and a responsible one for that matter. He's heard the cry of the people. He knows what is going on in town. So his visit to Guta was just to ask them to reconsider their decision to close shops because it's going to affect the ordinary Ghanaian. We know all that is going on. We know how the dollar is rising. We know all that is going on. But he only pleaded with them because the decision they've taken wouldn't affect the people in power. Politicians, these great men, they won't feel anything. He's only crying for the ordinary Ghanaian who all the shops that are closed will affect them.
But then, after the meeting, we're getting a sense from Guta that their directives may not change, not at least until Monday. So it appears that the meeting wasn't fruitful. Is that a correct notion to hold?
If you say it wasn't fruitful, I won't accept the word it wasn't fruitful. It was fruitful. You can't just take a whole decision about the city in just a day. They have in progress. Has spoken to people in authority, has consulted people in power, and we are hoping they'll get back to Guta soon with a positive answer.
If you say that the government has spoken to people in authority, what are we to expect? What's the traditional ruler seeking to do with some of the concerns that have been placed before him by leadership of Guta?
He's working things out with his team. He's got elders around him. He's got lots of people around him. So he's doing that consultation. And then after the consultation, everything will be okay. We know he delivers when he says anything. So I strongly believe he's going to come back with a positive result.
And finally, many are criticizing the traditional overlord for taking on the heat for government. Is there any response on that?
Come again with the question.
The belief is that the traditional overlord shouldn't be the one dealing with this, particularly when we have elected national officials or government appointees who are supposed to be dealing with the matter. What's the response to that?
No, the government King Takiteko Churu II, he is the overlord of the land. As a matter of fact, he is the landlord of the whole Greater Accra. So if you say he should not involve himself in this, I don't understand. He cares for the people, not just for the Ghana people, but anyone that has come from somewhere to look for greener pastures in Accra. You understand? And remember, people think politicians are manipulating our chieftainship. No, that is not happening in Accra. That is not happening with the Ghana Traditional Council or the Ghana State Council. No. There is no political influence on him. But as a responsible father, a responsible king, as someone who knows what is going on, he can't sit down and then watch idle. He is from Accra. He's a Ghanaian. And he understands the plight of the people. If you say he shouldn't talk about this or he shouldn't find a solution to this, I don't think that's the right thing to say, because he's a father, and the father needs to be responsible, and he's been responsible. It's not politics. It's not being what people are saying, but he's only being the father and the true king to the people of Accra.
And so we await a response on that matter, and probably he will be relaying the feedback to government. We're grateful for your time. That's Ni Ojay, speaks for the Ghana traditional Council joining us on Newsnight, but on Top Story, I beg your pardon. But the opposition National Democratic Congress is also blaming the situation on what they describe as President Akufo-Addo's continuous misrule and mishandling of the affairs of Ghana, which is occasioning this great suffering for all Ghanaians.
And having been the luckiest president Ghana has ever had, President Akufo-Addo in 6 years has had over 500 billion in terms of revenue from taxes, loans, and receipts from oil, gold, cocoa, and other natural resources. It is therefore our expectation that President Akufo-Addo will use his tour as a golden opportunity to showcase the achievement of his government in the Ashanti region to the whole world. However, many are still left to wonder what exactly it is that President Akufo-Addo came to do in the Ashanti region after 4 days. As the usual excitement, pomp, and pageantry that in times past greeted his visit to the region were this time round replaced with widespread discontent, disaffection, and in some cases, outright anger. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, one notable development was the palpable show of disapproval of the performance of President Akufo-Addo by the good people of the Ashanti region, the stronghold of the New Patriotic Party. As you all know, in the early days of his administration, the reception accorded President Akufo-Addo anytime he visited Kumasi was one near hero's welcome. However, this time round, President Akufo-Addo and his entourage were at the receiving end of boos and jeers from onlookers, notably in the central business district of Edum and other parts of Kumasi. This massive show of disaffection is a reflection of the general mood of the people in the Ashanti region and also a clear indication that his bad policies have hit home and the stronghold of the stranglehold of the New Patriotic Party in the Ashanti region is fast waning. It is also an indication that President Akufo-Addo's continuous misrule and mishandling of the affairs of Ghana have occasioned a great suffering for all of us, of which the Ashanti region is no exception.
And in fact, as we speak, government is working around the clock to try and speed up or expedite the negotiations regarding the austerity plan with the International Monetary Fund. Let's get on the telephone lines now and speak to George Uafi, Joy Business Editor, who's been monitoring the spring talks in Washington, D.C. for us. George, bring us up to speed with what it is that our chances are as a country. Are we getting that deal by the end of the year as government is seeking to achieve?
Well, blessings. I'll get back to you as to what the IMF officials are saying with respect to the program. And just earlier today, the IMF team or the mission team that is negotiating with Ghana for a possible fund program released a statement trying to emphasize that they have made some significant progress towards reaching a deal or getting a program for Ghana as soon as possible. Some of the key policies that they had discussions on in Washington, D.C., some progress has been made. So again, in terms of the statement, the utterances from the IMF, you get the signal that they are all committed to having a program as soon as possible. But again, I'll get back to the earlier argument made by the head of the African department as to whether government is ever willing to undertake the necessary reforms that this program will come with if they should extend support to Ghana in terms of our economic program.
So what you want to tell us now is that it's looking very unlikely for us as a country.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm just trying to say is that from what the IMF has said on and off record, there's a possibility that, yes, a program can be closed. And from the IMF itself, from the discussions that they've had in Washington, D.C., and this time we have an official statement issued by the head of the mission to Ghana, giving signals that they have made significant progress on the issues that they discussed here in Washington, D.C., and that the two parties are committed to having an IMF-supported program as soon as feasible. So if you want to play on words, play with words. The key word there is feasible. As long as those necessary things are put in place on Ghana's side and on the IMF side, that program could be done as soon as possible. There wasn't a clear timeline that, this date or that date. The previous comments that we've had from the fund is that, yes, we are working towards a program this year. But if you just read through the statement issued just today, the understanding is that as soon as feasible.
And I like the operative word, as soon as feasible. George Yafi, reporting from Washington, D.C. And Newsnight starts now. And tonight, agitation on the labour front as public sector workers fight government's plan to restructure domestic debts as part of efforts to get a deal with the International Monetary Fund. Some public sector workers, led by CLOCSAG, are sounding the warning.
The pressure that this on the restructuring of Ghana's debt to affect public sector pensions cannot be factored. If the government was to pursue the restructuring of Ghana's debt by touching pension funds placed in government security, it will be tantamount to deceit.
Well, just yesterday, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association also warned government not to touch their tier 2 pension funds of members.
These things. Nobody, not the Minister of Finance or any government apparatus, must sit and take those decisions which will come back to affect our members who are contributors of the various tier 2 schemes.
We'll get you the latest as government is assuring workers it will not leave them worse off in retirement and will protect their interests.
This annual general meeting should engender consensus building around happenings on the pensions front vis-a-vis the global economic realities. We owe it a duty to ensure that no retiree is worse off or suffer unjustly in the current situation.
And also tonight, no cash, no medicine, the decision from the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy, as it says it can no longer operate on no credit basis.
We pay things on cash. You buy 10K, we pay on. You buy 4, you pay on cash. Virtually nothing is paid after consumption.
We are not closing down our shops like the Guta are doing. But if you push us to that system, then all pharmacies, the whole country will close down. Where would you get your paracetamol? Where would you get your injection?
There's a lot of reaction greeting that as the Ghana Medical Association is charging government to halt what it believes could be the start of a collapse of the National Health Insurance Scheme. We'll get the latest for you. Also tonight, teacher unions are kicking against the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa as the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, labeling him as unqualified.
We want a Director General who is a professional teacher, who have passed through the mill. Contrary to that, the gentleman who was appointed yesterday is not a teacher. He is a banking officer.
Stay with us for the details as they call for the immediate rescission of the appointment.
We are calling on the President to rescind this decision that the gentleman who is appointed is not qualified by any standard to be the Director General of the Ghana Education Service.
And in business, IMF indicates commitment in reaching agreement on framework and policies with Ghana.
In sports, alongside his role as Black Stars assistant coach, George Boateng is to serve as pundit for Qatari media firm beIN Sports. Details in 50 minutes.
And stay with us as we get you the latest as well on the ongoing National Science and Maths Quiz. Presec's search for a 7th National Science and Maths Quiz trophy is underway at the KNUST, where they are battling with Accra Academy and Pope John Senior High School for a place in the semi-finals.
Bosu, I'll buy Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake purified drinking water. 10 packs each.
Hey, why? You dey go sell?
For the where? World Cup 2022. I dey storm there. Be one of the lucky winners to storm this World Cup 2022 and cheer on the Black Stars. Just buy your favorite Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, Awake purified drinking water, and test the 4-digit number on the bottle to short code *780# and select option 2. You can win instant prizes like fridges, TVs, microwaves, phones, and many wonderful products from Casapreco Company Limited. That's not all. In the monthly draws, you stand the chance of winning an all-expense-paid trip to Qatar to watch the FIFA World Cup 2022. So buy more. Distributors and wholesalers, buy 1,000 packs and get 100 packs for free. Redeem your prizes at any Casapreco distribution point nationwide. This promotion is happening on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions apply.
Charlie, some things can be very painful, like hitting your toe against the corner of a table. Or a failed cash transaction because of insufficient funds. But that's where Vodafone Cash Overdraft will help you shop life regardless. Vodafone Cash Overdraft is the latest innovation that adds to your Vodafone Cash wallet when your balance is not enough to pay for your Vodafone transactions. Just dial *110#, select option 5 to opt in. Now, let's say you won't buy 50 cedis monthly data where you get only 30 cedis for your Vodafone Cash wallet. You will get a notification saying you can access additional funds to complete your transaction. You accept the offer, done. Overdraft. Oh, say yeah.
Oh, yeah. The new Vodafone Cash Overdraft service allows you to access additional funds to complete your Vodafone Cash transaction. Be it paying for your broadband subscription, buying airtime or mobile data, or even sending money. Terms and conditions apply.
Vodafone.
Paul's Fitness Center, the premier destination for fitness in Ghana. Meet the indefatigable captain.
There are 3 things that I love doing. Number 1, workout. Number 2, workout. Number 3, workout. Workout put mind, soul, and body together.
The captain has spoken. Paul's Fitness Center. East Legon Branch, Lizzie Sports Complex, Cotton Street, East Legon, Accra, Ghana. 0302 519 675. Kumasi branches, Officers Mess Branch, Denyame, Major Kobina Drive, Kumasi 0541 871 602. Golden Tulip Kumasi City Branch, Raintree Street 0322 492 647. Pulse, the premier destination for fitness in Ghana.
And you're welcome back to Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across the country. I'm Blessed Sugan. Tonight, government's effort to reach an agreement with the International Monetary Fund before the 2023 budget is presented to Parliament is facing a serious threat with stiff opposition from some labour unions seeking to prevent a domestic debt restructuring. IMF has made debt restructuring a major prerequisite to give Ghana a bailout, but government's plan to restructure domestic debts in particular is being met with fierce opposition from some labour unions whose Tier 2 pension funds is in government securities. Today, CLOCSAG, the Ghana Medical Association and the teacher unions and a host of other public sector unions warned government to keep its hands off their contributions. Take a listen to Dr. Isaac Bampo, who's Executive Secretary for CLOCSAG.
The pressure that this on the restructuring of Ghana's debt to affect public sector pensions cannot be phantom. If the government was to pursue the restructuring of Ghana's debt by touching pension funds placed in government security, it will be tantamount to deceit.
So that's the Executive Secretary for CLOCSAG, Dr. Isaac Bampo. Just yesterday, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association also warned government not to touch their Tier 2 pension funds of its members. President of the association, Perpetual Furi Ampofo, says any such interferences with their funds will make their members worse off. She spoke on the sidelines of the annual general meeting of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme.
The beneficiary, such that when you go on retirement, your money is safe. What have we been seeing in the past, even with our Tier 1 contributions with Smith? Investments that have gone bad and all those investments or monies pumped into certain ventures, and the monies have not been returned back into the scheme. So we are not expecting that our tier 2 contributions will be touched in any such ways. It should be left for us the way it is, so that our members can benefit at the end of the day. Nobody can use the media to communicate such things. I think when it comes to the forum, the chairman of the forum has said it and time and again. Even the recent media interviews that you had with him, he said it very clearly. If there is anything, engagement should be done. We have to sit and discuss some of these things. Nobody, not the Minister of Finance or any government apparatus, must sit and take those decisions which will come back to affect our members who are contributors of the various tier 2 schemes.
Well, so that's the side of the story for the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Perpetual Ofori Ampofo is the president for the association. Joining us here on Newsnight is Dr. Frank Stribo. He is president for the Ghana Medical Association. Good evening to you, Doc. Thank you for your time here on Newsnight. I just want you to, first of all, listen to the Deputy Employment and Labour Relations Minister, Bright Rekuprobe, who's been giving assurances that government owes it a duty to ensure that no retiree is worse off or suffers unjustly.
Pensions serve as a safe haven to secure the economic and financial livelihood of workers and their families. In these critical times, more collaboration is required to safeguard pension funds and ensure retirement income security for workers. This annual general meeting should engender consensus building around happenings on the pensions front vis-a-vis the global economic realities. We owe it a duty to ensure that no retiree is worse off or suffer unjustly in the current situation. The Board of Trustees has a greater responsibility to fashion out innovative approaches that would maximize investment returns of members' contributions. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to use this platform to urge members of the Health Services Occupational Pension Scheme to sensitize our brothers and sisters who operate in the informal economy and do not have access to any pension scheme. Informal economy operators should be encouraged to take advantage of the 3-tier pension scheme to ensure their retirement security. This will help alleviate old age poverty and help cushion them in times like these. We have to recognize that government cannot do it all alone without the combined efforts of all stakeholders.
Dr. Stribo, are you not assured by these words spoken by the Deputy Minister? By extension, is the position of government on what it intends to do with the pension policy? Are you not assured enough?
Well, let me say good evening to your listeners and, of course, those who are watching you on screen. I think there is some assurance in what the Deputy Minister for Employment is saying. But as we all know, we were here when news broke. I'm sure it's your same network that broke the news that the Ministry of Finance was looking at using at least 94% of the Tier 2 pensions as part of the debt restructuring processes. And so now we are getting 2 schools of thought, one from the Ministry of Finance and one from the Deputy Minister for Employment. This is cause for concern. And I guess that is the reason why this morning the forum held a press conference to indicate that pensions are sacred and that nobody, indeed nobody, no government, no minister should even think of using part of the Tier 2 as part of the restructuring process in terms of our debts that we are suffering now. If you look at old age, that is mostly the point in time where you will need a lot of money. Your hypertension, your diabetes drugs, your glaucoma, all kinds of chronic illnesses surface at that time. And that is when you need a lot of money to survive. However, our pensions are already low. They are not good enough. They are terrible. And so anything that will make the situation worse is not something that we should consider. That is a big taboo, and we shouldn't go there at all.
But then how about helping government out?
How do you use people's pension to help government out? How do you do that?
The analogy is, if the economy is fully functional, then your pensions may be better off.
No, but how do you use people's pensions to do that? And that is a danger. So what happens if it doesn't recover? What happens? So you don't play lottery with people's pensions. That is cha-cha. You don't do that. You should rather do everything to enhance the pensions rather than using it as part of your debt restructuring process. So I don't think it is right. And I keep saying, pensions in general are bad in the country. They are not good enough. That is one of the key reasons why when people are actively working, they do everything possible to secure their future because they know that the pensions are not good. And if these messages start going out there, that government is even planning to use pensions, which is year 2 in this matter, as part of the restructuring process, then the situation will even be worse. So what we are saying is that they should leave the pensions alone. They should find other avenues to make sure that we bounce back as an economy. But pensions is a taboo. Nobody should go there. And that is what we are seeing. And I think that is a very good stance. And I believe that government should not go anywhere near our pensions.
Dr. Siribo, to what extent are you willing to press home this demand? If government, does not heed your call, to what extent will you go?
I think the law is clear on this. The law has said that you cannot use pension as a form of a guarantee, as a form of any form of a mortgage to safeguard any process at all. And even as an individual, if you decide to do so on your own, the law does not allow you. So I think the law is clear. And so this is one matter that I believe that if it should go to the crust of it, the forum and the labor unions will not be afraid to go to court on it.
But then in terms of negotiations, are you also open to that? Because I'm sure that by now you've been reaching out to either the Finance Ministry or the Labour and Employment Relations Ministry.
I think that should have been the first step before the Finance Ministry even came out to say these things. And if they have engaged, we would have made it clear that it's a no-go area. And I'm sure this matter would even have come out at all. And in actual fact, there is no room for negotiations on issues of pensions. I don't think this is a matter of a negotiation. Not at all.
We'll have to leave it here for now. That's President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Frank Siribo, joining us here on Newsnight. Well, let's stay on the health sector because no cash, no medicine. That's the declaration from the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy. Yes, it says it will no longer operate on credit basis. This is the move to save the pharmaceutical industry from what the chamber believes to be an imminent collapse. The move is expected to have dire consequences for Ghana's national health insurance scheme that operates mainly on a credit basis. The chamber says inflation rates, the fast depreciation of the Ghana cedi, and high interest rates are rendering businesses unprofitable. William Edumado is president of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association.
Current inflation rate stands at 37.2%. And it will surprise you to know, as we speak, some medicines are up over 100% because the cedi has depreciated more than 100%. This obviously brings about increase in the cost of goods and services by the same quantum, which we are not happy at all about it. The cost of essential accessories and other inputs needed for pharmaceutical operations therefore becomes affected. Interest rates. Interest rates on loans contracted from commercial banks as at end of last year was approximately 27% and currently stands at 35% on a compounding scale. This means charges on loans to finance operations have escalated. Additionally, loans from commercial banks attract an extra 5% penal rates on default. The delays in payments affect liquidity and ability to service loans, with the consequence of likelihood of default in loan payment. Floor price. Cumulative floor price increase from beginning of the year to date stands at 71%. Typical public sector business always have a caveat of last mile delivery, which means that suppliers are contract bound to deliver all orders to their respective warehouses or approved storage sites of the Ministry of Health or Ghana Health Service across the country. Increases in fuel prices affect transport costs and hence undertaking last mile delivery increases the cost of operations. Utilities. Cost of utilities, according to the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, PURC, from 1st September 2022 has increased by 27% for electricity and 21% for water. Evidently, electricity and water remain indispensable in the conduct of pharmaceutical businesses, and hence their increase tend to affect the cost of doing business highly.
Well, listen to William Edumado also run through some of the measures to be rolled out, including having transactions purely on cash basis.
No credit policy for all buyers in the industry. All transactions with immediate effect shall be on cash basis until the economy stabilizes. I want to repeat. No credit policy for all buyers in the industry. All transactions with immediate effect shall be on cash basis until the economy stabilizes. Recommendation. The NHIS and all private health insurance companies are encouraged to give accredited facilities seed funds to buy medicines on cash for supplies to patients under the schemes. All end-user institutions, thus retail pharmacies, private hospitals, and clinics, are encouraged to secure loans from banks to buy medicines on cash. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning should release funds immediately to pay for long-standing debts over 9 months and to push to clear all overdue debt. The Ghana Statistical Service is advised to include medicines among the baskets of items used for the Consumer Price Index, CPI, calculations.
Well, so that's William Edumado, president of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association. The general feeling within the industry is the same. So listen to other pharmacists share their concerns as well.
We are not closing down our shops like the Guta are doing. But if you push us to that system, then all pharmacies, the whole country, will close down. Where would you get your paracetamol? Where would you get your injection? Where would you get your infusion? Look at how many people are in the hospitals that we are helping. If you don't pay us, our companies will collapse. I hope from your interaction and from your questions and answers, we can add more. But I believe I've explained to you that we are not just selling cloth or television sets. We are selling your health. Thank you.
There are people who have died and there are millions in their accounts. They could have used that money to buy things, see, but they did not. And now the money to him who is dead is useless. So we are saying, all the systems we have in the country now, you go, you pay cash, you take it. So please help us by giving us the cash to pay our suppliers and to pay our expenses to survive.
Government has priced the product for you at a certain point in time. Now, or you go for a tender and the price is fixed for a year, you cannot supply because the exchange rate and everything has gone so far, so quick that it's not a sustainable model. So the only way we can do this is we come to you, we deliver the goods, you pay us. Otherwise, it's not possible. And if this thing is not protected, if this industry is not protected, then come any pandemic, it could be a disaster for the country. And we don't want that to happen. As an industry, manufacturers have invested a lot of money, importers have invested a lot of money to build factories. And the only way we are doing this is that we want to take care of the needs of the country. So we're pleading that let's change the business model and make the industry a sustainable business model.
Re-engineering. We are not saying that the National Health Insurance should look for cash and give it to us. There are numerous commercial banks available. The insurance or the government, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, whoever it is, can get together and ensure that they contract commercial banks to have some pool funds available for this particular initiative. So that if the insurance is unable to get their remittances from the Ministry of Finance in good time, the banks can step in and pay us. Immediately they pay, the industry can convert into dollars, pounds, any of those stable currencies, and then do their international business. So that at all times, medicines will be available. I think this is what I wanted to add to what has already been said. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's the general feeling within the industry itself. Earlier, you heard from William Edum-Ado, who's president of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association. Fortunately, he's joining us on the telephone lines now. Good evening to you, sir. Many thanks for your time on Newsnight. So, where do we go from here? Knowing that the patients will be at the receiving end of this system that you're about to implement. No cash, no medicine.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to your listeners. Yes, I won't say patients will be at the receiving at the end. Over the period, we've been given credit. And it's because of the love of the patient and the health of the nation. That's why we've been doing this all this while. Because in reality, no industry gives as much credit within the chain as the pharma industry.
And since you're talking about credits, I just want to know the volume involved right now. What figures do you have to that?
What's happening is virtually, almost all the players give credit because that's been the norm. That you give some days, some weeks, but unfortunately, the weeks have turned into months, and some of the months have turned into years. And we've gotten to a stage that we feel that if we go along that tangent, especially in this time when the currency is not stable, it's going to collapse our individual companies. And once we collapse, the repercussions are going to be very dire because just imagine a time like the COVID, should we not have enough in stock? It could have been disastrous. So we are only saying that the current business model that we are running is not sustainable. So what we are saying is just buy what you can pay for so that we can also purchase enough raw materials for those who have to also manufacture to be able to manufacture.
Mr. Ado, I'm interested in the figures. I'm interested in the figures because that will give us a clear picture of perhaps how much government is owing you now and how fast you need those funds.
It's not only government that is owing, even the private institutions. But the government is the biggest buyer, and currently, the value of the pharma industry is about 600-700 million. However, over the years, it's been like, about 3 months we'll pay. The National Health Insurance is the highest buyer, is the biggest buyer. But over the period, this months have been turning into years, and it's bringing a lot of companies down. When the currency is stable, you are able to absorb some of these shocks. And we even used to have this benchmark value that was 50%. Now it's just 30%. So at the end of the day, it makes projections very difficult. So what we are saying is the same patient that we want to protect should also bear with us, because if we don't go along that tangent, what's going to happen is there won't be enough at the import or the manufacturing side of the equation.
All right, then.
And also at the supply side.
William Edum-Ado is president of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association. I want to bring in now Kwabena Mintah Kanto, who's ranking on the Health Committee in Parliament. Thank you for your time on Newsnight. So you've had the concerns of the dealers themselves. NHIS is actually the big culprit in all of this. What do you intend to do at the committee level to deal with the concerns?
Thank you very much for having me. We have been putting a lot of pressure for national health insurance to be paid so that they will forward things to their service providers. Unfortunately, over the years, government has been owing service providers not all of months. In some cases, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, in some cases, a whole year. As I speak to you now, government owes service providers in excess of 2 billion Ghana cedis. But you see, I always make the point that the National Health Insurance Fund is supposed to be the most reliable money that must never be in excess. Let's get this point straight. It is not as though anybody is telling government to go and borrow money to invest in that sector. It is money that you and I have paid, and we pay it upfront. And the law says that once you take that money, within 30 days, lodge the money into the National Health Insurance Fund for the onward disbursement to the service providers. Why should this be a problem? I don't think. Because we pay all the time. Because I would not be reasonable if I disagree with the chamber of, what do you call it, farmers. I would not be reasonable because these are all the effects of the deteriorating nature of our economy. These are all the effects. But where I get sad is that the ordinary citizen is the person going to bear the full brunt of these decisions taken by this group of people. The people who are supposed to take the decision to avert this situation will never suffer the brunt of these decisions because the president has the money to go and buy the medicine anyway if he's sick. In some cases, he will even not attend hospitals in this country. You remember, and I always make this point, that when the minister responsible for finance, those who are supposed to pay the money, when he was sick, when he was down by COVID, you remember, he traveled to one of the most expensive hospitals in the world. So he will not pay the brunt of this decision. That is where, I get worried. Because, look, let's face it, when the dollar was about 5.8 Ghana cedis, if you need about $100, you needed to change about 580,000 Ghana cedis and you get $100. And don't forget that more than 80% of the raw materials are imported, and in some cases, they even import the finished product. Today, as I speak to you now, you need more than 139,000 Ghana cedis, okay, to be able to get, how many, dollars? About $1,000 or so dollars. So things have increased astronomically. Talk about tariff increments in this country. Just recently, there was a huge increment in tariff. Talk about, interest on loans. Talk about the inflation. These are all things that has affected every businessman in this country. So for me, I find it very difficult to disagree with them. And this is common knowledge. But at the end of the day, if they don't give their products on credit, what will be is that our medical stores, regular medical stores, will be in shortage of drugs. And so when you go to hospital after diagnosis, and you know there are two main things involved in, healthcare delivery, the diagnosis and the treatment.
Okay,
and the medical doctor
there's
is
a problem
supposed
now
to prescribe medication.
Right, Dr.
You
Kando,
don't get those medications at the hospital.
There's a problem right now. The fact that the doctors just indicated to us that their group will go ahead to implement the no cash, no medicine system. Won't you intervene at this point, knowing that there's an impact on public health?
The intervention must come from government. Let's be fair and let's be frank. Why are they taking the money and they're not giving it to the service provider to go and pay the money? Why? Let's call a spade, and let's tell government to do the needful. Why? What is happening in this country? That we cannot call a spade. Anyway, we should be able to speak the truth to power.
Okay, I get that.
And for me, the intervention to come from government. Anybody does business to be able to at least to break even. So I will not even have the moral courage to go to approach anybody. If they are even going to negotiate with them, at least government should be able to do something about it.
And I'm grateful. We'll see how that will unfold. Kwabena Mintah Kando, a ranking member of the Health Committee, in Parliament. Still ahead on Newsnight, teacher unions kick against the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa as Director General of the Ghana Education Service, labeling him as unqualified.
We are calling on the President to rescind this decision that the gentleman who is appointed is not qualified by any standard to be the Director General of the Ghana Education Service.
It's time now for business. Pius Kujo Bakar is here.
Grateful Blizzard. Straight to our headlines. IMF indicates commitment in reaching agreement on framework and policies with Ghana. Also, World Bank begins engagement with 3 West African countries, including Ghana, to start mass production of fertilizers to avert food shortage. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Ghana Pay and Alliance Life.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302-764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website, www.kingdomgh.com.
Allianz Insurance since 1890. At Allianz Life Ghana, we have a wide range of life insurance packages to suit all pockets, from individuals, groups, associations, and businesses. We cover your employees, your funerals, pensions, children's education, and your future. Call us on 0302-267-892 or visit our website www.allianz-gh.com for more inquiries. Allianz Life, we secure your future.
Alande.
Ghana Pay Alande.
Hey, finally! Ghana Pay Alande.
Do more your way on Ghana Pay. Send and receive money at 0 transaction fees. Pay bills, buy airtime and data. Transfer money in and out of your bank account and so much more with Ghana Pay. Dial *707# to register for Ghana Pay or download the Ghana Pay app from the Play Store or App Store.
Alande, Alande. Ghana Pay Alande.
Ghana Pay. Your money, your way.
This service is powered by Gibbs.
Here is the planet's ultimate game.
The greatest prize in football is up for grabs from 20 November.
This is absolutely wonderful. It's Mbappe! Oh my word! Ronaldo with the shot. Oh, it's gone in! Messi. Oh my God! Sadio Mane! A goal by the African Footballer of the Year.
Experience every minute of all 64 matches of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Live on SuperSport. Only on DSTV. Here for every fan.
Welcome back from that break. This is the business segment on Newsnight with me, Pius Kojobaka. Straight up, the International Monetary Fund has indicated its full commitment in reaching an agreement on a framework and policies for an IMF-supported program as soon as possible. This follows the conclusion of a meeting between the fund led by Stefan Rodert, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, and the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, and other team members. In a statement issued by Stefan Rodert, the fund said it has made some good progress in identifying specific policies that will restore macroeconomic stability and lay the foundation for stronger and more inclusive growth. It stressed that discussions will continue in the weeks ahead with a follow-up mission to take up place expeditiously. Now, the fund concluded that the Ghanaian delegation and IMF staff had very fruitful discussions on the post-COVID-19 program for economic growth and associated policies and reforms. So that's the latest coming in relation to that agreement there. Now, the World Bank has disclosed that it is working with key countries in West Africa, including Ghana, to start mass production of fertilizer in the region to avert food shortage. Currently, most African countries rely on Europe for the supply of fertilizer, a situation that has caused the prices of the commodity to go up following the Russia war against Ukraine. Speaking at a press briefing in Washington, D.C., the World Bank Group President David Malpass said it is time to break the monopoly of fertilizer production from Europe.
Available in Africa, and there were specific conversations. I met with the president of Togo yesterday, that Togo has discovered phosphate, and that's a key ingredient within fertilizer. And there's an availability of natural gas from Nigeria or from Ghana that could be then used to make fertilizer if that were a direction for the world. And so we are working throughout the developing world on the debt problems, also on the private sector engagement problems that are so important for each of the countries. So I guess I'll push back a little on the, and then yesterday I met with the G7 had a meeting with the Compact with Africa countries, which are a group that Germany has been very involved in, but these are.
David Malpass is the World Bank Group President. Now, players in the microfinance space in the country are bemoaning the rising cost of funds to run the operations. This, according to them, is due to the current economic challenges bedeviling the Ghanaian economy. Speaking to Joy Business at the Ghana Accountancy and Finance Awards, Head of Financial Planning and Analysis at Bayport Savings and Loans, Kweku Ofosu, called for a swift action by the financial managers of the economy.
The cost of funds. The cost of funds is a biggest challenge. We all have seen where inflation is sitting. We all know where Treasury bills is operating at the moment. If everybody is coming to deposit with you, they want the kind of rates they are looking for. So yes, I mean the cost of funding is really our biggest challenge.
Kweku Ofosu is the head of financial planning and analysis at Bayport Savings and Loans. Now, Ghana will be hosting yet another platform for exporters and manufacturers of energy and power equipment to explore and find solutions to the global energy crisis. This year's Power and Energy Ghana Expo will be focusing on marketing innovations for the African market. Engaging the media on the upcoming event, which is slated in November, Director for the Power and Energy Expo, Thomas James, said Ghana holds a strategic market for energy in West Africa, hence the decision to bring the event to the country.
Exhibition covering these two aspects will be able to arrange a platform wherein the people, the counterparts in the Ghanaian industry, Ghanaian stakeholders, Ghanaian partners can meet up. The companies who are exhibiting the similar line of products covering these aspects can partner with them, have joint ventures, have partnerships, for joint ventures, for partnerships, as well as joint ventures for production in this country. At the same time, it will help in power generation that adds or value addition to the power generation industry as a whole, and also employment as well as exports. You know, Ghana is one of the major exporters of power and energy to the neighboring West African countries, including Benin and others. So a segment which is actually value adding or actually increasing the production of the power or energy itself can be a way route for exports other than the normal conservative exports that is already existing in the country.
Thomas James is the director for the Power and Energy Expo. To some other story we have for you, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, says it has made some considerable investments in Ghana's education sector and will continue to invest in other sectors of the economy. Speaking at a handing over ceremony of the Children's and Mobile Library at the airport residential area to the Ghana Library Authority, Director General of SNIT, Dr. Joseph Ufori Tinkran, said SNIT will continue to foster national development. He explained that it's interesting, and of course, it's interest in ensuring that the young ones are also educated about social security and pensions.
Our interest is not only to foster national development, but we also have a selfish interest in making sure that the young ones are educated also about social security. And that is why this year we've gone ahead and introduced and launched the supplementary readers that the Ministry of Education has graciously embraced and introduced into the curriculum.
Dr. Joseph Ufori Tinkran is the Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust SNIT. And in business on Newsnight, back to you, Blessed.
Grateful pause for the latest. This evening, teacher unions are kicking against the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa as the new Director General of the Ghana Education Service. The Dr. Nkansa's appointment was announced by the presidency after Professor Opoku Amankwa was sacked and asked to return to his previous station at KNUST. Speaking at a news conference in Accra, President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, Angel Kabono, indicated teacher unions want someone whose career is in the education sector.
The development that annoyed and surprised all of us, that a new Director General is being appointed to the Ghana Education Service. The authority to appoint Director General is the President of the land. Unfortunately, contrary to what the teacher unions indicated, that we want a Director General who is a professional teacher, who have passed through the mill, who can bring his knowledge, skills, and influence to bear on the activities of teachers and non-teachers in the Ghana Education Service. Contrary to that, the gentleman who was appointed yesterday is not a teacher. He is a banking officer who was a special assistant in the office of the minister and has been appointed as the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. We are not happy with this development. It is as if we don't have professionals and well-educated people who have gone through the mill in education in this country to run education. It is as if we are being told that we educationists in the Ghana Education Service are no good to manage education in this country.
Let's bring in President of the group, Angel Kabono, who's joining us on the telephone lines now. Mr. Kabono, I'm just wondering, what's unlawful about the decision of the presidency?
Well, you are asking whether it is written black and white in law. Is that what you want to find out?
Precisely.
Well, it is not about what is written in black and white in law. It is about the injustice and unfairness that is being meted to the Ghanaian teacher who works with the Ghana Education Service, who is risen through the ranks, who is improved him or herself academically and professionally, being denied the ability to lead himself because it is felt that he or she does not have the competence to do so.
Yes, but I'm asking about the law. What's unlawful?
Well, when you ask about the law, you are limiting the scope of the discussion. And that is not fair to the realities on the ground.
So going forward, if you're saying that, well, the president cannot appoint persons outside the education sector, don't you feel that will be setting a bad precedent?
Well, it is rather bad precedent where people are taken out of the professional group or people from outside the professional group are appointed. Imagine, my friend, that tomorrow you hear that I have been appointed the Surgeon General in Ghana. Would that be appropriate?
But I guess there's a clear law establishing who qualifies to be a surgeon, right?
Well, okay, what about if I'm appointed as the Director General of the Ghana Health Services?
If it's in line with law, that's in the spirit of the Constitution. So be it, right?
So that I go there and mess up and misdirect people, recognizing knowing the fact that I am not a medical doctor.
I'm really struggling to get the point, Mr. Kabonu, because are you by this suggestion that people who do not have the experience in the education sector are not better managers of the various agencies in the sector?
Absolutely. That is why we've gotten education to the precipice of destruction. Because people who are not educational have been asked to manage education and they are mismanaging education.
So going forward, what do you intend to do to press home that demand?
Well, the various unions are determined to put in place several actions to bring to the fore our concern. And we hope that by the time we finish what we want to do, the whole society will understand the purpose for which we've taken this position.
I'm grateful for your time. That's Angel Kabunu, president of NAGRAT. It's time for sports. Musbau's here.
Well, it's the Black Stars assistant coach, George Boateng, who has been confirmed as a pundit for Qatari media firm beIN Sports, alongside his role as the assistant coach of the Black Stars for the World Cup in Qatar.
Boateng will be joined by the likes of Kaká, who won the 2002 FIFA World Cup, 2010 FIFA World Cup winner David Villa, Argentina legend Gabriel Batistuta, former England internationals Gary Neville, John Terry, and Liam Sanderson, Italy's 2006 winner Alessandro Del Piero, Denmark's Peter Schmeichel, France Arsene Wenger, and 1998 World Cup winner Marcel Desailly, Germany's 1990 winner Lothar Matthäus, Ruud Gullit, and former Republic of Ireland international Jason McAteer. The former Netherlands international joined Ghana's technical team in March and helped the country qualify for the World Cup. In August, he resigned as Aston Villa under-23 coach, claiming he needed to focus on his work with the Black Stars. George Boateng is one of Black Stars' assistant coaches, along with Masoud Didi Dramani, the team's first assistant, and former Premier League manager Chris Hughton, who serves as a technical advisor. Black Stars are in Group H with Portugal, South Korea, and Uruguay.
That's my colleague Kwame Banaya with that report. And Blessed, it will interest you to know that the Ghana Football Association has declared tomorrow as a prayer and fasting day for the Black Stars as part of the preparation for the World Cup. And this is part of pre-World Cup activities, which include a walk with some of the Black Stars legends and a few other activities that will help whip public sentiment ahead of the Mundial. So, Blessed, will you be fasting for the Black Stars tomorrow?
Well, I'll just say hallelujah to Reverend Okreko and Reverend Musbau.
You know me fasting.
I'll join you later on. Don't worry, I'll join you. Anyway, Musbau, thank you for sports. Well, some members of the National Democratic Congress in the Swami constituency of the Ashanti region have vandalized the party office of alleged ghost names in the constituency album. The aggrieved members claim their names have been expunged from the album and replaced with unknown faces. There's more in the following report.
Suraj Mohammed is among NDC members at Swami who have their names missing in the constituency album. Names of members in about 21 branches of the party are alleged to have been replaced, disenfranchising them from the constituency election slated for Saturday, October 22. They have petitioned regional executives, but their grievance has not been addressed.
After the vetting and the election, I did almost 6 branches. I worked on their form, and all of them was passed to be branch executive. But when the delegate list came, all the 6 branches have just vanished. And secondly, yesterday when we went to the regional office, they saw our form. The form they told us that it's vanished. It's vanished. It fly away by the form itself. But we saw it at the regional office. And we told them, this is our evidence. So you should replace it. They told us that they are waiting for order from above.
Debris of the action is visible at the entrance of the party office. Party documents, including forms of some aspirants with their embossed pictures, have been thrown out. Suraj says their action is to send signals to both regional and national executives for immediate solution. A member of the election committee at Swami, Musa Mohammed, has confirmed receipt of a petition from victims from the 21 branches. According to him, party executives have taken steps to address the challenge, but the victims have not been patient. Reporting for Joy News, Obidishie Ofuri Amanfo.
Well, so let's give you a sense of what's happening elsewhere in Europe. The resignation of the UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has kick-started the contest to find the next Tory leader and Prime Minister. The election is supposed to produce new leadership by next week, Friday. Some names making the rounds as possible contenders are Boris Johnson, once again coming back into the race, and Rishi Sunak, but no confirmation has come from Boris's camp. Meanwhile, MP for Bolton North East, Mark Logan, is the first to confirm he will be contending. Liz Truss's resignation makes her the shortest-serving Prime Minister with only 45 days in office. According to her, she could not deliver the mandate on which she was elected.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent, and our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
UK Prime Minister Liz Truss, her now abandoned September mini budget started the turmoil, leading to some uncertainty in the UK leadership. Some citizens are demanding a general elections to inject some stability into the political landscape.
Oh, it's very good news. That woman was trying to destroy the country with these mad policies, and at last the Tories have seen sense and pushed her out.
I'm just, hooray. I think it's, well past time. I thought she was absolutely appalling, really, because it's been sort of coming for a few days now, I think. She's just kept hanging on there, and we thought she'd never go. A general election, please.
Absolutely a general election. That's the only thing. You can't keep putting in another Prime Minister, the Tories, electing among themselves. Anyone except for Boris Johnson. So I guess Rishi Sunak has at least got a brain on him, which is more than you could be said for Liz Truss.
No, it'd be a disaster. I mean, he's under investigation still. I don't see how he could possibly even stand.
Well, so some UK citizens, they're expressing their opinion on what's happening. There's an African dimension to it, which some of you are sending to us on our WhatsApp console. It's 055-1111-997. I'll read this one from Yao in Dublin. Yao says, Liz Truss's resignation as UK Prime Minister. Can this happen in Africa? In less than a year, the Ghanaian cedi has depreciated more than 100%. Still, we have people in the helm of affairs usurping more powers. Pierre Lumumba says Africa is a tragic continent. That's a message coming through from Yao in Dublin. This one says the new GES Director General is not unqualified, but it's not only unqualified, but also not a member of the GES. Only directors at the top echelons of the service can become Director Generals. Nat Nagrat must wake up. And that's coming through from Charles, listening to us here in Accra. There's also this one coming through. Says, good evening, Joy FM. I have heard government expect the dollar at a certain rate for importers. How true is this? Kindly help me out with this. Okay, well, the confirmation is that negotiations are still ongoing on that arrangement. Kofi Atamrahia says, tuition was all along free. Why do I pay for my wards, lodging and feeding? I'm not sure which one that is related to, but thank you all for sending us your messages. It's time now to catch the fun and tell you about what's happening in Kumasi. Definitely, when you hear that iconic sound, you know that the race is on, the National Science and Maths Quiz. This time around, Presec search for a 7th National Science and Maths Quiz trophy is underway at KNUST, where they're battling with Accra Academy and Pope John Senior High School for a place at the semi-finals. The Odadias say they want to consolidate their bragging rights and a position on the NSMQ trophy table this year. It appears that they're taking the lead already, but former students of Accra Academy say they can only daydream about it for now, as they also want to win it for the very first time. If Presec Legon fails to win this contest, it will give their Ashanti regional rivals, Prempeh College, a boost as they hope to equal the number of times the Presecans have won the trophy. Listen to the Blau boys express their concerns, or of course we got their feeling ahead of the contest. And there's a bit of a development as we speak, so it looks like it's settled now. Maxwell, give us the results. We've lost Maxwell Akugade, but Presec Legon appears to be in the lead. My colleague Michael Ashali is also here. You've been monitoring the contest. It's a good time for Presec, correct?
Yeah, very good time for Presec.
What's the results? You know?
So Presec is doing well over 64 points just before they answered the last question. So 64 points. Accra Academy was doing below 39 points, and then you'd have PJ, who was also trailing in that contest.
Interesting figures there, Michael Ashali. Let's get the feeling from Maxwell Aguba, who's on with us. Maxwell, take us away as we wrap up.
Well, Blessed, before the contest, the Accra Academy old students said they were going to make Presec daydream about winning their 7th trophy. But I can confidently report that the Presecans are actually living their dream now, on their way to winning the 7th trophy. The dream is on course now, boasted by the highest points at the quarterfinals for Presec Legon. OWAS had the highest points of 54, but now they've been overtaken. The Presec boys stopped Accra Academy and Pope John right in their tracks at round 1 when they led the contest with 11 points. The gap between the two schools increased to 21 points in favor of Presec Legon. The third round was the final nail in the coffin for Accra Academy and Pope John, as Presec scored 10 out of 10 in the problem of the day. At the end of round 4, the points increased to 34. The quiz mistress is yet to officially declare the results, but to quote Evans Mensah, at this point, it is statistically impossible for Accra Academy to make a comeback. In fact, one of their old students said the only comeback is for them to come back home. But let me say that Accra Academy will be a huge force in the 2023 NSMQ because the contestants who represented them today are second-year students.
Well, Maxwell, miracles do happen. Let's see what happens anyway. That's Maxwell Akbaba joining us with the latest, and that's all we have for you here on Newsnight. I'm Blessed Sugan. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more.